Now let's turn to page 30 and take a look at the question here. So we have 4 different metals, that is W, X, Y, and Z. If respectively react with cold water, diluted hydrochloric acid, and heated on the metal oxide, whether it will have any reactions here. So let's firstly deduce if there is like any reaction heating on metal oxide, which means is relatively less reactive, right? So we know that the Y, like all the others, all cannot react with metal oxide. So Y should be put at the bottom, right? Because it's the least reactive. And then let's take like the hydrochloric acid. So if it can form gases, which means those 2 metals are before H, right? The only one that cannot react, so I just cross the Y out, as we've already know that Y is the least reactive here as a ketone metal oxide. And then let's take a look at the diluted hydrochloric acid. So only W is behind H. X and Z are all in front of H, right? So let me put a H here. And then probably a little bit above. Then I know that W is behind H, right? So we know the last second. And then let's compare X and Z. So for X and Z, only X can react with cold water. Remember, for cold water, it should be more reactive, right? Remember, like either it will be sodium or calcium. So let's put X at the top, and then Z should be in front of H, and then put it as in this way. The reactivity series will be from most reactive to least reactive here. Let me drag a little bit down. So this will be the answer for pi. And let's take like part B. So in a practical session, students add a few granules of X into a beaker of cold water. The granules sank into the bottom. Suggest what could be the XB. Oh, like X, it has gas produced, right? But here it's like sink to the bottom. Remember, the reaction for sodium, it will float on the water, form a moving silvery ball, and also it will have some fizzing sound, right? But if that is sink to the bottom, the metal should be calcium. So calcium should be our B1, the second answer, and write the balanced chemical equations again. So the reaction with calcium and water, it should form calcium hydroxide. So for calcium charge 2 plus, hydroxide will be minus. If we do a cross method, this one will be CaOH2, and then plus the gas produced, hydrogen. Is it balanced? Let's try to balance it. So we have rainbow method, 2 oxygen on the right, so we only have 1, so we put a 2 in front of it. And then take a look at here. We have 2 times 2H, so we have 4H on the left, and then how many H on the right? Double check. 2H and then plus 2H here. So we have 4H on the right, yes, balanced, and also calcium, balanced. Last step, remember, gas, liquids, or aqueous, or solid state. So calcium is solid, water is liquid, and this one is aqueous. I think it's slightly dissolves in water, so it could be aqueous, but this one is like relatively insoluble. And the H2 will be gas, right? It's aqueous or solid that's written on the textbook. Let me double check it. This one should be like the book here written as solid, so we will consider this one a solid as it slightly dissolves in water. So please write solid for calcium hydroxide. Alright, so this will be the balanced chemical equation here. Alright, draw a label diagram setup for the experiment. Similar to the previous questions, the setup, we have 2 setups to gather the hydrogen produced, right? So it could be either in this way, like the gas is produced, or either there is a tube that is connecting to it, and then we gather the gases by expelling the water out, right? So these will be our 2 reactions, 2 label diagrams. And then go back for part C. It asks us to suggest name for W and Y. Oh, sorry, it's a label diagram, so please label those apparatus. So for example, there will be hydrogen gas, and this one will be water. And here is the inverted funnel. And the bottom part will be calcium, right? So for label diagram, don't forget the labels. And then take a look at the C. Suggest name for W and Y. For W, let's take a look at it. So it won't react with any of them. I think it's somewhere in between, as it won't heat with magnesium, won't heat it and then form its metal itself. So for W, it should be somewhere before mercury, right? So and also before mercury and below H. If we take a look at the metal reactivity series here, then we should be able to see that we know that the mercury and the silver, they will heat it along, right? And then the copper oxide cannot be simply obtained from that. So W, it could be copper here. And also, like, ask about Y. Y, it could be either mercury or silver, right? So these two can undergo reductions and form its metals by itself. So let's record. It will be MgO. Undergo heating, and it will form magnesium, mercury, and also oxygen. So solid, and gas. This will be the two answers for part C. And for question 31 and 32, I think there's already like posts on the Mark screen on the Google Classroom. Please go and take a look at it. If you still have any questions, you can WhatsApp Mr. Harris about your chemistry. Thank you.